Hello there, it's Christian Youngren with Kaizen Automotive Consulting, bringing you more best automotive practices. In this week's video, I'm going to show you some ways to reduce your dealership's new vehicle locates and some ways to close more car deals by learning how to overcome the automotive buying objection. Can I get one in pearl white? Or do you have one in the tan exterior? In this video, I'm going to give you word tracks that'll expand your new vehicle inventory so you can keep your sale moving forward by selling new vehicles and new cars, trucks, and vans out of your dealership's inventory. Now, if this is your first time to our channel and you want to improve your automotive selling skills, learn how to use psychology to close more car deals, and receive unbiased reviews on dealership, vendor, product, and service companies, make sure you go ahead and subscribe and then turn on the bell. That way you never miss out on learning anything new. Okay then, let's get to work. Who out there's ever had this happen to you? It's a busy Saturday afternoon at your dealership. The showroom's just buzzing with excitement. Your receptionist, they're paging like crazy for an available salesperson because there's customers everywhere. Now, meanwhile, you've just spent the last 2.5 hours with Jack and Esther, a nice older couple who you know can buy, but you also know the type. They're the ones that show up early on a Saturday morning, armed with tape measure, pen, and notebook in hand, ready to do all their research and take measurements on 3 different SUVs. However, you take your time, you're very patient with them, and you do a tremendous presentation and walk around, and after 3 different test drives, they tell you that they'll go ahead and take the new Traverse 2LT if they can get one in silver ice metallic. And that's right, you guessed it. You don't have one of those colors in stock. So you end up going to this long monologue about trying to locate one from your sister store and on, and the next thing you know, Jack and Esther, they say something about maybe checking at the other dealership real quick and they'll come right back. So you give them one of your business cards and guess what? They never come back. You try following up that following Monday, but you can't connect with them. And a week later, when you finally do get a hold of them, and only because you used someone else in the dealership's cell phone, you find out that they ended up buying a Summit White Traverse last Saturday from that very Chevrolet dealership that they said they were going to go visit real quick. So why did this happen? Well, after your initial meeting with Jack and Esther during your needs assessment phase, this particular salesperson should have been a little more proactive in addressing the color preferences. Your goal in doing this early on is to expand your guest color choices instead of being pinned down by one absolute must-have favorite color. Why? Well, because you might not have that color in that model or that particular trim package variation that they're inquiring about. Well, speaking of expanding color choices, how does one do this? Well, it's by asking investigative questions. Now, as a sidebar, I've got a whole series of questions that the top performing car salespeople ask, and I'll leave you a link to that above. However, some good investigative questions that help expand your guest color choices would be the following. Bill and Betty, do you prefer lighter or darker colors? Hey Joe, what are your top 3 color choices? Hey Mr. Jones, is the exact exterior color all that important, or are you like most of my guests and you're just open to several colors and several options? Bill, if we didn't have aqua blue, what would be your next choice? Now some of you out there might be asking, what do you do if your guest brings up color before you've had a chance to proactively address it? Well, in the case of Jack and Esther, when she brought up the silver ice metallic, right then and there, that should have been the time to recognize this is a great opportunity to check for more color options. So when your guest does bring up a color option on a vehicle that you know you don't have in your inventory, for example, let's say they say, do you have one in pearl white? You say, gosh, if we're lucky. Of silver steel and titanium gray, what's your next favorite color? After all, NADA says that 86% of customers buy a different make, model, option combo, or color compared to what they originally came in and intended to buy. So I don't claim to have all the answers, but one thing I do know I've learned in my 30 years of the car business by observing salespeople and customers in this color issue is that about half the time it's the salesperson that gets stuck on the color. I don't know what it is. Maybe we just, as salespeople, we get caught up in trying to help customers. I hope that's what it is. And we want to try to help them find their favorite color. And we just kind of get caught up in that and fail to realize they've got a second, a third, and even a fourth color choice. All we have to do is just simply ask. Heck, today there's so many great color choices out there that the manufacturers will put forth that these days we probably shouldn't even be trying to figure out what the one absolute color they have to have. Probably ought to just find out what one or two colors they absolutely positively wouldn't take. Now, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to come right out and ask the guests what colors that they don't like, since our goal in sales is really to focus on what people actually want and need, right? However, the point I'm trying to make is this: that most of us, we're just a lot more flexible on color and equipment than we'd like to believe. I mean, I love the color black and I love the way it looks on a vehicle. But you know what? I've only owned one black vehicle in my entire life. I guess it's just once I see how silver surfer metallic looks in the sun or looks underneath the lights at night, I just decide, you know what? Silver surfer metallic's my favorite color too. Now that I've given you some questions you can use to expand your guest color choices, let's go ahead and plug those back into our Jack and Esther example. So let's say during the investigation step, Esther asks us if we can get to traverse in silverized metallic. And you know it's a hard color, tough one to find. So you could just probe for more color choices by just simply saying this. You know what, Esther? We can check and see if we've got any silverized coming in on transit. Let me ask you though, of Summit White and Satin Steel Metallic, which would be your next choice? Esther says, well, I do like the Summit White. Well, then you'd follow right back up with, and your third choice? She says, well, you know what, I didn't think I would, but I really do kind of like the red metallic once I saw it in the light. Bam! You've just opened up your inventory choices. You've expanded it, and now you can keep the sale moving forward because you can do a presentation and demonstration on an actual vehicle. You can do it on the Summit White Traverse. Now, will this always work? Of course not. Esther might say, you know what, I guess I like the Summit White, but I really want the Silverize. And some salespeople might stop right then and there when Esther says that I really like the Silverize, and they go to the new vehicle locator and they attempt to hunt down that particular color. And then you end up working figures with no value built on the Traverse at all. So by expanding your guest color choices, you're still moving the sale forward. And instead of chasing a color, you're actually building value in an in-stock Summit White Traverse that possibly she'll take. Now, because you went the extra mile and asked some good questions to expand your guest color choices, you were able to do a presentation and demonstration on the Summit White vehicle. And that got you to the most emotional part of the sales process, the presentation and demonstration, where NADA says 80% of the value is built. Now, as all three of you come back from the demonstration drive in the Summit White Traverse, you notice the body language on Jack and Esther. It's pure excitement. They've got Traverse fever and you want to be the person to help them solve it. However, when you return from the demonstration drive and you get into the dealership, you get outside and Esther says, you know what, we love it and we want it. But yes, you guessed it, they want it in Silverized Metallic. And of course, you don't have one in stock. Now, before I give you a way to overcome this color issue, and so hopefully we can go ahead and work a deal on the Summit White, you've got to know their second favorite color. But once you know it, here's what you'd say next. Hey, Jack and Esther, I understand that you guys prefer Silverized Metallic. Let me ask you though, other than color, would there be any other reason why you wouldn't pull the trigger on this new Traverse here today? Esther says, you know what, if it was Silverized, I think we'd take it right now. And you'd say, you know what, Esther, Silverized is one of our most popular colors. And because it's one of the most popular colors, it's the hardest to get. And that makes it in higher demand. Now, due to the higher demand, it costs both of us more money since we have to locate it and then we have to have some transportation costs to get it here. Now, I can help you either way. If you don't mind spending a little bit more money, I can have the Silverized one here probably in a couple days. Or, if you want to go with your second favorite color choice, Summit White, I bet you we can save you some time and some money. And you know what? It's your choice either way. But didn't you tell me earlier that budget was going to be one of the biggest factors in deciding which next vehicle you were going to purchase? The guest says, you know what? Okay, let's see what you guys can do in the Summit White. Well, bam, now you're moving the sale forward again. Now, hey, I get it. Some of you out there are probably skeptical, and when it comes to locate, there's a lot going on here, and some of you are probably thinking, you know what, my guests won't pay for a dealer locate, and maybe you're right. But before you decide this word track isn't for you, consider this. I've worked with a lot of large dealer groups here recently that they're trying to recoup these costs of the transportation cost and then the time that it takes to locate a vehicle. So they've gotten organized with this, and they've come up with this 48-hour locate transportation kind of service for the guest. And they actually ask the guest if they want to go ahead and get it quicker. They would charge them anywhere from $200 to $400. And then they've got a no-charge service if you're willing to wait. So for those of you out there that think that this word track wouldn't work, or that this idea of asking the customer to possibly pay a little bit more for the vehicle they want to locate, you really can't hurt yourself by using that word track. You could use the word track, and then if you employed something similar to having two different types of locate services, one that you charge for and one that was free, then there's really no harm in asking if they'd be willing to pay a little bit more. And your hope is really that not so much they're going to pay more for a locate, your hope is really just to work on one in stock, because after all, it does cost us new car dealers money when we do these locates. In the end, isn't it all about just testing the waters to see how important color really is to your guest in making the decision to purchase their next vehicle? I mean, remember this. People who go out to a dealership to look for an exact car typically come home with something different. And that's after 18 hours of internet research. Why? Because we're humans. And humans are emotional creatures that make their buying decision based on emotions, not logic. I mean, we use logic, but only after the fact, after we buy, and we use it to justify our decisions. And that way we can explain our purchase decisions to others. But more importantly, it's a way for us to explain our purchase decisions to ourselves. Well, there you have it. How to expand your guest color choices and sell more new vehicles from your dealership's inventory. Now, if you'd like to learn how to overcome more car buying objections, like I want more for my trade, or the payment's too high, or you want some sales psychology persuasion tips, go ahead and click on the playlist coming up above. And as always, I want to tell you, till next time, keep fighting the good fight.